Twilight of the Gods is a new Netflix animated series which is co-created by Zack Snyder. So today, let's see if it's worth your time. Hey everybody, my name's Justin here. I try to watch everything that hits theaters and on streaming services like Netflix. If you guys are like me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and click that notification for more up and coming content. In a mythical world of great battles, great deeds, and great despair, Leif, a mortal king, is saved on the battlefield by Sigrid, an iron-willed warrior with whom he falls in love. On their wedding night, Sigrid and Leif survive a wrath of terror from Thor, which sets them and a crew of crusaders on an all-against-odds and merciless mission for vengeance. So this is co-created by Zack Snyder, Jay Olivia, and Eric Carrasco. Zack Snyder directs the first and final episode of this mythology animated series. This isn't the Thor and Loki that you're gonna get from the MCU. Thor and Loki has such a rich history outside of the MCU, and I was really looking forward to something fresh for Thor and Loki compared to over the last decade or so that we've got for those two characters. It's really deep in people's minds that Thor and Loki is just Marvel Studios, but there's so much more to them, and I found those characters to be really interesting within the series. We get more so of Loki than Thor. Thor doesn't feel like the most developed character within here. Thor is just a character that's going to wreak havoc, and this crew of crusaders are going on this all-out vengeance mission against Thor. And you really feel that intensity, and Thor is this final boss of this animated series. And just watching all these characters trek through different things within this mythology and teaming up with other characters, and you have Loki involved with all of it all. You have this progression to get to Loki, and it's really intense. But what seems like it could be a very simple, direct vengeance mission against Thor, it starts to peel back these characters quite early on, and you start to get all this development, all these relationships and personalities to these characters, especially Sigrid and Leif, and seeing how they interact with each other, see that relationship flourish throughout, and seeing all the other members in this crusade against Thor. You have enough character development which only adds to the urgency and intensity of the series. You get enough backstory for these characters, especially in regards to Loki and Thor, which I really liked, but it just kind of piles on top, and you get to know these characters more and more, and they only become stronger throughout. But in all these episodes, you have this heroic story of love, loss, and revenge. There's journeys to hell and beyond, battlefields and wars against gods and demons. There's a lot that this series does manage to tackle on, and it's all through that development for these characters that you do explore outside of Thor and Loki, looking more at the mythology of these characters. Sigrid and Leif and Thor and Loki, there's so much more to them than you get on paper. And so you get these introductions for these characters, and things might seem simple enough, but there's so much more depth to them, all this detail added to them, and it just feels like mythology. It feels like you have so much more surrounding them, and these really complex characters, if they're good or bad, if they're in love or not, there's so much more to it. And Zack Snyder and people who created this series understand mythology very well within here, and how deep and rich it can be despite it only being 8 episodes. The series is full of sex, violence, action. It's very bloody at times. There is constant action and battles happening. There's a lot at stake. You feel the grand aspect to this animated series, and there is a lot of sex as well between characters. There's a lot happening, so just be warned. But all of that in here, you have a nice style of animation. Sometimes the character designs feel quite simple, but you have a lot of detail in the background when it comes to all of the action and exploring all the different lands and battlefields. There's so much added into the background of these characters. So at times it seems a little bit simple with some of the designs for the characters, but there's enough to supplement all of the action and blood that is on screen. And all the minor characters from Hervor and Thyra and Ulfr and Odin all do enough within here to add to the action and there's enough depth for them as well, despite them feeling like minor characters. They all join together and they all feel sometimes a little bit too giddy to go against Thor, and it adds to the excitement of their mission. So very early on, episode 1, you establish this mission. It's a vengeance mission against Thor and what he did in the very first episode. It boils throughout all these episodes to a very action-packed end to this series. I was really impressed with Twilight of the Gods in terms of how these characters are explored, all the rich detail to these characters, the urgency surrounding our mission, all the different style of animation, and Loki as a character had a lot to do. At times you felt for this character, you felt all of the kind of emotion as we learn more about these characters, especially in regards to Loki. But Thor, I love what they did with him and how bloody and violent he was. It was so cool to see all these characters come together in a really nice animated series. So before I give you my score for Twilight of the Gods on Netflix, make sure to check out my channel. Here I do movie reviews, trailer actions, ranking videos, tier lists, all that fun movie related content that you see on YouTube. I do it all here, so hit that subscribe button to get it all in one spot. I'm gonna go ahead and give Twilight of the Gods a B. Thank you guys for checking out my review for Twilight of the Gods, the new Netflix animated series. Have you guys seen it by chance? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more up and coming content like this. My name is Justin Watches Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.